Hey, what it do, y'all? It's your boy E2 Blue coming back at you again, man. And unfortunately, it's not a victory Monday. It's the Cowboys lost to the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. You guys know what happened. 22-25 was the final score. Um, just some things I want to talk about that happened in the game and going forward, what they need to do to fix those said things if they want to be successful in said playoffs. Now, just real quick though, as far as this week goes for this week's game, week 18, the last week of the season, um, they're not resting players. They're not resting players. Ain't no point in resting players because you lost to the Cardinals. They dropped from with that Cardinal loss. They dropped from the 2 seed to the 4th seed, which means that you could potentially be playing the Cardinals again the week after next. You played a Cardinal team that wasn't 100%. Our offense came out flat. They weren't. It didn't seem like they were motivated. I don't know what's going on with this offense. Even when we had that blowout win with Washington, they still weren't playing their best. But we'll talk about that in a second. Now, as far as the Eagles game go, they're going to be playing everybody. They're going to play to win that game because you have to. Because now the Eagles, since they won, they have an opportunity to make it to the playoffs now as the 7th seed. So then you would have two teams in the division to go to the playoffs. So you kind of have to beat the Eagles this week. Uh, Now, granted, I know the Cowboys are going to the playoffs regardless, but there's no resting because Dak needs to figure this out, what's going on. And I think I have an idea of what the issue is. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit to see what you guys think about it. Just a couple of things about the game, though, that really irritated me as far as the refs go. Now, when I went back and looked at the game after the game, I always go back and look at, certain things. And that it was two key things that the refs messed up on. One, when they called the false start on Tyler Biadish, Dak was in shotgun at that point. Dak was coming up to the line trying to change the play, blah blah, because he was looking at something that Arizona was a look that they gave him. Tyler Biadish adjusted himself just as any center would, and the ball wasn't even near the time to be snapped. So how can you call a false start on that? Because every center does that when their quarterback is in shotgun. They're pointing, looking around, blah blah. So that was one thing that was really suspect on how you call a false start. The second thing, this is what killed the game in my opinion. When when Arizona was on the field, their offense, Kyler Murray was on the field. The clock went to zero and they hadn't snapped the ball. They snapped the ball exactly a second after the clock went to double zero. That should have been a false start on them. But no, it wasn't. Because with what happened with that is they called offsides on Demarcus Lawrence because Demarcus Lawrence looked at the clock and was like, "Oh, it's double zero zero. I'm stepping off the line." Shouldn't have been called against him. Which made them lose their timeout. Cowboys lost their timeout right there. Then, because that last timeout was lost, then you get to the situation where it was a fumble, right? It was a clear fumble by their offense, which could have given you the ball back. But the line judge at the time called blew it dead. And there's no way you could challenge that if you don't have a challenge flag, which means you have to have a timeout to do that. They don't review plays when it's called a certain way. You have to challenge it to get them to relook at it to overturn it. Cowboys didn't have their timeout because it was used on that last BS thing. So that was the issue. That was the biggest issue that I had because that really cost the Cowboys another opportunity to get the ball back to win the game. Now, as you say, even though this is the same refing crew from the Raiders game, we knew that going in. So the Cowboys needed to just come in and play their game, right? They needed to play better. Now, I'm not going to get too much on the defense because they did what they needed to do. They held the Cardinals to 25 points. And technically, when you hold a team to 25 points, you should be able to beat them. The biggest issue I have is our offense. Now Michael Gallup's gone for the rest of the season. I know it's only one more game and then the playoffs. Well, I'll talk about that one at the end. But he tore his ACL, so he's done. So now Cedric Wilson has a step up. I mean, I love the way he's played. Now going to have to utilize Malik Turner more and then Noah Brown when he comes back as well. And I think Blake Jarwin should be coming back soon too, if not next week. Now, with this offense, the issue that I'm having is okay. This is what Dak's sixth season. I love Dak to death, and like I told you before, I speak the truth, whatever it is. I'm a Dak lover. I love my quarterback, as everybody that's a Cowboy fan should. I don't understand why there's any issue with that. You should love your team as much as everybody else does, but whatever. Um, Dak is the leader of this team, and he has to understand that now you are the one that needs to understand what defenses are bringing to you, right? So Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator from the Cardinals, they called a they called a really good defensive plan against the Dallas Cowboys. They knew exactly how to play the Cowboys. They saw something in the film study because they studied. Buda Baker definitely studied because Buda Baker should have had a pick six on that one on us. And on that play where Dak Prescott audibled out and he tried to throw a quick pass because they were rushing five, Buda Baker was there and he was came off the line untouched. Batted the ball up. They batted the ball at least 4 to 5 times. They batted Dak's passes at least 4 or 5 times in that game. That goes to show you that they knew exactly what the Cowboys were in, what they were going to run at that time. So that just goes back to coaching for me, right? I've said this many a time. I've always been on Kellen Moore's side, but I will say, just like I've always said, that he's a young offensive coordinator, but he also has to learn what these defensive coordinators are bringing to him. Dak has to understand and see past the trickery that they're bringing to him. So, well, all they did was they lined up one way and they did something different when the ball was snapped. So it was their pre-snap setup that confused Dak Prescott, and they did. That was their plan. Their plan was to confuse Dak and make him hesitant on his throws, and they succeeded with that because they saw that on tape. They knew what the Cowboys' tendencies are in certain situations when you do certain things to them, and they went back and watched that Denver tape. They went back and watched the Buccaneers tape. They went back and watched every team that beat us this year, and they looked at what our tendencies was, what Kellen Moore calls on certain things, how Dak throws, everything. They looked at all that. So I think that Dak, Kellen, and whoever else that helps out with this offensive strategy needs to sit in a room, go order some Chinese food or something, and they need to just sit down and talk to each other and get to a point where, okay, how can we combat what these defenses are bringing to us? How can we not make our offense so sluggish? There's no excuse for it. We have one of the best offenses in the league. We have a lot of weapons on offense. You talk about Amari Cooper, which is arguably one of the best route runners in the league. There's no reason why this guy had only 2 catches in the motherfucking game. There's no excuse for that. When I look at Green Bay and how they deal with Devontae Adams, I have Devontae Adams in fantasy. Every game this year, he's given me at least 10 points. Nothing less than that. Hell, he gave me 30 points this past game. He's always in a part of their game plan because he's their number one wide receiver. And of course, teams are trying to scheme against him. I don't care about them being in cover two. I don't give a shit about none of that. You can counteract that. You can scheme your guy open if you do it the right way. Amari Cooper, just like a lot of these wide receivers on this team, know all of the route trees. So if your guy knows, if your number one knows all of the route trees, then you need to utilize them. Put them in the slot, put them in the X, put them in the Y. You can put them on the outside. You can do whatever that you need to do. Short slants. Move him around because this is what Amari Cooper was talking about when he said he wanted the ball more. Not just the target level, but the fact that utilize me better on this offense because I can help this team win. And this is what we need to do. It's simple shit. If me, a guy that's not even a coach, I just know football. If I'm not a coach and I understand this, then why the fuck can't these people that are actually coaches figure this shit out? What our offense is doing right now, and I hate to say this, is reminiscent of what we had with Jason Garrett. Being just being not lame duck, but teams are learning us and we have to switch it up. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again because they think that, okay, in this situation they're going to do this. This is their bailout. We have to switch it up. Kellen Moore has to be smart. I understand that Kellen Moore learned a lot under Jason Garrett, but you have to get away from that Jason Garrett tree. I know that you come from the Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan tree, but I know that Kellen Moore also has his own mind and he is a different person and he's not technically a lame duck like them, but because somebody taught you something, you kind of revert to what you were taught. So he has to get out of that taught mindset and realize that, boom, I can't keep showing people these tendencies. I have to do something different, especially in the playoffs. If you go into the playoffs like this, you're going to be one and done. And the fan base is going to be absolutely livid. So, these teams that you're about to play in this playoffs, these are the cream of the crop. And if Dak wants to become elite, he has to learn that. He has to learn that when defenses bring him, and I understand he's still learning, and I'm cool with that. I love Dak. But he also has to learn, and he's played long enough to know that you can't play timid. And I understand that he was trying to audible. And I'm not saying that Kellen Moore called a bad game. He didn't call a bad game. I'm actually giving Arizona their credit. The Arizona Cardinals came in here and they did what they were supposed to do. Buda Baker is basically their Micah Parsons. He came in, he did film study, he knew what he was going to do. Their defensive coordinator is smart. Vance Joseph knows what he's doing. And he knew how to play the Cowboys, and he knew what he was doing. But we have to learn how to counteract it. When we play teams that have really good coordinators and have the players on defense to do that, because everybody that we're going to play in the playoffs has a good defense. Again, just like we have a good defense, they do too. So we have to learn how to counteract what they're doing, because they damn sure counteracted what we were doing. We didn't even get really a sack on Kyler Murray. Why? Because it's just the way that they play on offense. They were smart. They actually didn't even run Kyler Murray till the second half. They were just playing us neutral because they wanted to see what we were going to do. And everything that we did played right into their hands. So as far as this whole getting Amari Cooper back in, especially now that you don't have Michael Gallup for the rest of the season, you need to utilize Amari Cooper and you need to scheme it the right way. Like I said, they need to get together, order some Chinese food, figure this shit out. Figure it out. Figure it out, because just like they do study on us, we got to study on everybody else. And if you play the Cardinals again the week after next, they already know what you got. So you got to come up with something different. We cannot come out here flat on offense, and that's why I hate getting the ball first. I'd rather our defense be out there first. But, I know we didn't have a chance to defer this time. But when you have a chance to defer that shit. Defer that shit. Because we don't always play well when we get the ball first. We don't. Because I just feel like right now we're not a team that is being aggressive enough, and we should be. We got the players to be aggressive. Why are we not aggressive? That is the biggest issue. You look at the run game. Zeke had strong runs, but we didn't have a lot of it. Hell, why has Dak Prescott had the most yardage? I understand that a lot of our runs got called back from penalties, which, I'm not going to keep bitching and complaining about these refs because they're always going to do this to the Dallas Cowboys. But we have to be more disciplined too. If we be more disciplined and we play better, these refs cannot control how we win these games. So, you don't. And this is the reason why the talking heads talk shit about us. And I can't even defend that because they're right. We have not won much against teams over 500. We got to get better. We have to get better. And I know that we're 11-5. I know that we're going to the playoffs, but I don't want to hear these haters keep saying, "Oh, the Cowboys do the same thing every year. They're one and done in the playoffs." I don't want to hear that. We need to strap the fuck up and play. This is why I didn't want us to get the number 1 seed, because we don't know how to act with a bye week. I don't want to have a bye week because of the simple fact that we need to stay focused. We need to just keep plugging. Ain't no rest. Get your ass out there and play. If you wanted to rest players, you should have rested them when we were playing against teams like Washington football team where you knew you were going to win. There's no rest against the Cardinals or any other team that you got on the slate next. Even the Eagles. Play them, whoop their ass, because what I don't want to hear is Fly Eagles 5 talking shit, talking about, oh, we beat the Cowboys. No, sweep the rest of this division, finish the shit off this year, and go ahead and go into the playoffs and come strong. Whoever you play, the Cardinals, 49ers, whatever, whoever you play, Green Bay, go out there and show them who the fuck you are. And that's it. That's it. That is my issue with the offense. We come out lackadaisical, and we need to come out strong. We need to come out aggressive, and we need to show them just like how our defense plays. Because again, I have no issue with the defense. They did their job. The offense needs to step that shit up. And I don't know what happened between the beginning of the season until now, but that shit's got to change. They got to do better. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment box. I know a lot of people are frustrated, but it is what it is. We got to do better on offense, and Kellen Moore and Dak got to get together and figure this out and come up with some new stuff, because we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. I love Kellen. I love Dak. I think that they can be better, but they just have to realize that these defensive coordinators are figuring you out, and you have to switch it up. And that's it. It's just as simple as that. Switch it up. In the meantime, between time, it's your boy E2 Blue, always keeping it real. Talk to y'all soon.